So tell us your name, tell us who you are, and let's start from there.
All right. My name is Kaitlin Borthers, and I work as a human factors and usability engineer for Stryker, a medical device company. I am currently at their orthopedics division here in New Jersey. So I got this opportunity. They had reached out to me and asked if I wanted to come on board in their quality engineering department, but specifically with a focus in human factors and usability engineering, which is something I absolutely love. And actually, that's how I ended up in the medical device world. I was not originally in medical devices. In fact, I have my degrees in civil and environmental engineering, so building bridges and infrastructure. But I never saw myself in healthcare, not because I didn't like it, but just wasn't the path that I started on. So it was actually kind of funny how I stumbled into medical devices. It was super unconventional and discovered usability and human factors, because something that I'm really fortunate to do is that one of my passions is connecting with people. So even though I had mentioned that I'm a little bit introverted, it's really important. I love technology and I love people, and I'm not super technical, but I'm also not super outgoing. So that happy medium gray area is where I thrive.
That's cool though, because I'm sure a lot of people that have a strength in one or the other really struggle to do the other half of that equation. So it's a nice skill set to be able to go pretty deep on both sides.
Yes. So I love it when those two interact, and ended up doing some research on empathy in the context of engineering in graduate school. And that's where I learned about design thinking and human-centered design, fell in love with that. Didn't want to go work for a civil engineering firm, ended up in the startup world in Phoenix, which was phenomenal. Best crash course in learning about myself and all sorts of new things very quickly and rapidly. But that's how I started in healthcare.
That's cool. That's cool. That's a fun like jump start to the career. It's interesting. And you're happy, you enjoy what you're doing at work?
Very much so. Yes.
Cool. Good. So tell us a little bit more about you. Like, what are your off hours filled with? What types of things do you enjoy in your rest of your life?
So especially right now, since I just moved across the country, there's been an adjustment period. I'm learning more about myself. I've been living alone actually right now, as me and my fiance make the transition. He's still out in Phoenix. And so that's given me, I mean, I'm sad, I miss him a lot, but it's given me a really cool opportunity to get to know me and learn a little bit more and do stuff that I like. So right now, a lot of my evenings are filled with new activities. I've been taking a lot of time to make sure I'm taking care of my health. So I've been doing a lot more yoga. I started rock climbing recently, and that's been crazy because I'm not any good at it. But it's fun.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. You know, it's funny. When I used to teach dance, people would always be like, "Oh, I would never like try dance. I'm terrible at it." And I'm like, "Okay, do you think that people just start good? Like, at what point do we not allow ourselves the opportunity to be terrible at something for a while and keep trying it until we actually get good?" So kudos to you. That's cool.
Exactly. So definitely like taking care of my health, doing active stuff, but I've also on the weekends been taking some coffee classes. I'm learning how to do more homebrew techniques, which has been
Classes?
yeah, coffee
Wow.
classes. So
Okay.
I love coffee. I drink it every day, and I figured why not learn a thing or two on how to prepare it, because the different brew methodologies change the flavor entirely, which is really cool. And just learning more about the history of coffee and the different, like, there's so many variables, and like me being as nerdy as I am, like tweaking the water temperature or adjusting the time or the size of the grinds and all of this is like very relaxing and very cool. So I've been doing some of that as well.
Very cool. Awesome. So, you know, a big part of why I'm having these conversations is that I think that finding happiness in life is not like an arrival, and it's not like a black or white. We have it or we don't. To me, it's like when we can create pockets of life where we have a new sense of kind of peace and balance and zen and I don't know what I like to consider happiness. I think that that's something that we need to recognize and something that we can really celebrate and then try and reverse engineer for our own learning as well as other people, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, like, is there an area in your life that you feel like you have kind of created that sense of balance or peace or happiness or whatnot with you?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the areas that I feel very confident in right now, especially given my recent move, is my career. So like I went into a little bit before, I'm I've done things a little bit untraditionally, and that's worked out really well for me. So I feel very empowered that each step that I've taken has been very consciously, I put myself into it in some capacity. And I've been able to be successful in that right, not doing it the way that I thought. I originally thought I was going to go to school, get my degree, go work, get my PE, become a civil engineer, and do that thing, which is totally fine. I have a lot of friends who are amazing, but that wasn't my path.
So
So
let's rewind a few years. I mean, place yourself back into your shoes a few years ago when you were earlier on in this journey, and what kind of steps do you think you took right to give yourself the opportunity to be, so happy with your choices now?
yeah, I think, well, one of the main things is that I'm very, I guess, stubborn. I want to say persistent. Maybe that's the correct word, but I think stubborn is a little bit more like it. So I went into engineering because I wanted to impact the world in a really positive way. And then, of course, you get into your sophomore, junior year, and everything gets really difficult. And I thought about quitting. I can't tell you how many times I actually looked up like the direct comparison of my credits, how many would transfer to other degrees, because I was considering. It's like, how many credits can I like get for doing this? And I stuck it out. I didn't do it alone though. I had a lot of support from my family and friends. They were just kind of like, you can do this. It's totally fine. And I was like, shoot, I don't want to toss in the towel. So I think the persistence to just finish that part of what I started was really important for my success. But also I've always been open to new ideas and allowing myself to see other opportunities. So I'm focused, but I'm not so dead set on accomplishing X that I have to
Balance. Yeah.
exact.
Very
So
good.
I've been able to tap or identify new opportunities that are a little bit different than what I originally would see for myself, but go, it looks like fun, or this, I could learn totally new set of skills. Let's give it a try. And that's actually paid out really well for me.
And so it was while what year were you in school when you first started kind of dabbling in startups too then?
I was probably in my junior, senior year of my undergraduate when I very like early started, but I got into it more in graduate school. So I had a bunch of colleagues, and my professor and advisor at the time was very supportive of that kind of environment. And honestly, it was the perfect timing because I also had just come out of my shell, so to speak. I'd been quiet and introverted and all of this, and then I went through a pretty powerful like personal transformation, which thanks to the startups, I took a improv class at ASU as well, and I competed in pageants for a year, and that surprisingly was one of the best things I could have done for myself.
So wait, your pageant background wasn't earlier in life? It was kind of in the middle of all that?
Yes,
I
yeah, it
didn't
was
realize that. That's interesting.
yeah. No, I've never been a pageant girl. I would never have characterized myself as that. And before I competed, I didn't even own a curling iron. I was very
That's awesome.
not, I was like so out of my league. But one of my friends like tricked me into going to a meeting like, at a
Friend.
she was like, we should go get coffee. And I was like, absolutely. I love coffee. And we walked in and there were tons of people there. And I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on. She's like, oh, we're at a meeting for a pageant coming up. And I was like, wait, what? Like, you're taking me where?
Wow. And so how did that fit in as a part of kind of your journey? Like what did you learn from that? I was just
So that was really a powerful year for me. I gained a lot of confidence in myself because one of the things that I had realized late in my undergraduate career and early in my graduate career was that I really wanted to impact the world in a positive way. I wanted to connect with people, and I wasn't confident enough in myself to do that. And I wanted to make sure that I had the ability to communicate. Um, with people and be able to be persuasive, even if it was just in a way that I could get to know somebody or to get out of my shell more or whatever. Anything I could do so I could actually fulfill my dream of wanting to leave a positive impact in the world. The entire reason I went into engineering.
Girl, that was wise of you to actually like consciously realize that. That's cool. And
Thank
do
you.
something about it.
So when the opportunity randomly presented itself at a Starbucks one day, I kind of like accepted it. It was kind of one of those things where I saw an opportunity. I was like, this is kind of weird. I don't know. Why not?
Famous last words.
Sure.
Famous first words. I like it.
Mm-hmm. And to my surprise, I ended up winning a title that year as Miss Phoenix 2015. And my platform, it's through the Miss America organization. So the Miss America organization has a service platform attached to it. I did STEM-based work, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But it really, like having to get up on stage and present yourself in a certain way. Like I would, if you would have asked me before I competed what I thought of pageants, I would have said all the stereotypical things. They're sexist, the women don't know what they're talking about, etc. I was so wrong, because these women are some of the hardest working, most motivated women that I've ever met, and a good majority of them are in my bridal party. So like some of my best
good friends. That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
You know what? I love it when you can find a pocket of something going on where women are supporting women. You know, I mean, when you can find that type of environment, it's really worth a lot. It's really cool.
100%.
Okay, so back to the career then. So you made it through school and through, got involved in startups and played around with that for a little while, did a bunch of good, solid work there, and then decided to take the risk to move across the country. So, I mean, how that could have turned out really good. It could have turned out really bad. I'm sure it's still a bag of mixed emotions, but you seem to be pretty happy with your choices. And so tell us just a little bit about that too.
Yeah. Especially I love the startup environment, so I want to like give tribute to that, because it gave me like my wings, so to speak. I learned about the career path that I wanted to go. That's where I discovered usability was an actual thing I could do. So not only could I take this thing that I studied in college and my personal passions, but I could actually apply it in a career setting. Which was really awesome. And I love the flexibility of wearing multiple hats and being involved in a lot of things and having and learning and having to know a lot. And so I really appreciated that. So I was really scared when I first accepted the job with Stryker, because it's a big company. They have
would be typically a different culture.
Yes, it's big, it's corporate. They have facilities all over the country, very different. So I was actually a little nervous because I was like, ooh, I've always stayed away from that, just I guess subconsciously. But I'm really happy to take this leap. Right now, I'm really enjoying my job. I really appreciate the culture that they've created there, because even though it is a big company culture, they have a very small company feel from site to site. The sites aren't too big. Your teams are really interconnected, and it's really what you make it. So that's been really good. But I think the big like pull for me to do this is, one, it was a great opportunity. Two, it was something new. I'm learning all about orthopedics. I never knew about that before. So I'm having to, of course, similar to the startups, put myself in a new environment, learn a ton of new stuff. But I also had the opportunity to move to a different state, which I think is, well, that's something I've always wanted to do. I love Arizona so much. I won't be mad if I end up back there someday. But I've always wanted to try something different and prove to myself that no matter where I end up, I am capable of thriving in different environments and adapting to my new setting. So that's been a ton of fun, weird, but really good.
That's cool. So one of the components in my perspective of both confidence and self-esteem is being able to actually prove to yourself that you could do something, or being able to validate that you did it, right? So it's like, I like to use the example of when someone's learning to dance, like I was saying before. it's one thing to get knowledge, right? Like if a person is, I can watch a video on how to dance and I may not feel like I know how to dance yet, right? I can
Yeah.
even have some experience. Like I can actually try the moves in the video, do them repeatedly for a while, start feeling like I'm grooving, like I'm kind of getting it, right? But it's not until I like see myself in the mirror and realize that I am actually doing the moves and I don't look like an idiot that I kind of seal the deal in my head that, yeah, okay, I got this, right? And
Yeah.
that's when that kind of foundational level of confidence is built. And so I think what you said is interesting because proving to yourself that like you could do this and you did it. And now you get to look back and be like, yeah, I got this. And that builds kind of a new step inside of ourselves, in my opinion, that helps us kind of feel like we have a new platform to take the next step off of, you know? So
Absolutely.
it's cool. Well, very good. All right. So then last question. Tell me about like, I mean, you're still pretty young. I'm always impressed with you with all that you've kind of
You.
done and created for yourself. Um, someone else, stand in the shoes of someone that is in their final year or two of school
Yeah.
and, looking ahead at that daunting landscape of where am I going to go? What am I going to do? How am I going to create something? How am I going to find my home? What will be the next or the launch of my career. So, what would be a couple of tips that you would have for someone?
First and foremost, even if you don't feel like it or don't know, like trust yourself because you're going to be able to do more than you even know you're capable of. You just haven't been put yet into some of those situations. So if it's looking scary, like easier said than done, but just jump. Go start something. And it might be wrong. It might be completely the wrong thing, but the wonderful thing about doing something, even if it's wrong, or maybe it's perfect, but even if you go into something, you choose something, and you're like, oh, I don't know, I made a mistake. Did you actually? Because you learned so much from that experience.
Yeah,
You also know what you don't want, and you probably learned a lot about yourself and what you do want. So trust yourself, make a decision. Don't wait around and think, oh, I have to find the right decision. There's no such thing as the right decision. The right choice is whatever choice you make in that moment
I
because
like that.
that's going to lead you down the path that you're supposed to be on. I'm very much a believer in that philosophy that
So,
you're going to end up where you need to be.
yeah,
So just trust that process.
I like it. Take the steps.
Yes.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me for a bit, my dear. Really appreciate it. I really appreciate you sharing your story too. I think it's a good one.
Thank you. And I've enjoyed this as well.